So ever since I started listening to you and I started meditating and paying attention to how things feel, slowing down, taking stock before I took action, my life has changed a lot and things are going incredibly well. And it's very exciting, but it's a little lonely out there far on the leading edge.
Then what's happening there? Because we've been saying that there's never a crowd on the leading edge, but there's certainly enough to be interesting. What's happening here is you've found a way to consistently stay in alignment, but you don't trust others. So now that you know that they're not necessary to your alignment, you can let more of them in now that you know you're stable. It's interesting, sometimes a little bit of interaction with someone who hasn't quite got it all figured out can cause some more bounces, some more rockets of desires, some more clarification, some more opportunities to uplift, some more opportunities to be uplifted, some more opportunities for clarification. Esther just really recently came into an awesome awareness that even when she thinks about other people, her expectation of others does affect what comes to them. And now that she's so aware of what she's pointing at, she only wants to point as it relates to herself or any other in ways that are beneficial to those that she's pointing about. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
There's a wonderful woman. In fact, she was the first one. Her name is Audrey. And she was the first one to begin gathering people to come to these seminars in this area. She called Jerry and Esther and said, I have a group of about 50 people that would love to see you. Will you bring Abraham to Rye, New York? And Jerry said, if there's a Courtyard Marriott, we will. And she said, there is. And so Jerry said, we will. And so that was the beginning of this gathering many, many years ago. She is a wonderful counselor. She has many credentials behind her name. And one of the things that she often did, there was a process at the time that we were calling scripting, where you just write a scenario the way you want it to be.
I do this, and it's worked incredibly well.
So Audrey began doing this scripting where she just wrote a story about herself or about someone she cared about or about one of her clients, where she just told the story the way she wanted it to be. And amazing things began to happen in their experiences. So when you hold someone as your object of attention and you think about them and you script about them, law of attraction will bring evidence of your relationship with them to you, and you won't feel lonely. You'll feel integrated. You'll feel influential. You'll feel tied in. You'll feel a part of their upliftment. Because when you are an uplifter, it's so satisfying to be aware of the upliftment that you are emphasizing. Yes?
I want to get back to that. I really loved doing that. It felt euphoric to speak these things into being, speak into what my physical body would be like, the homes I would live in, the travels.
Yeah.
And so many of them have come true.
Yes.
And I would just start to think bigger and bigger and more exciting, more interesting.
Esther's been playing a game where she takes a sheet of paper, draws a line down the middle, and writes satisfying on one side and unsatisfying on the other. And then if something occurs to her, she just draws an arrow whichever way it points. So let's say that we take the conversation that you began with today, and you talk about how clarity has come to you and your application of this has come to you, satisfied, you're thriving relative to so many things, feeling so good, satisfied, but lonely, unsatisfied. So you draw the arrow that way. Now, take that subject of it's a little lonely out here on the leading edge, and then see if you can find some way of making that lonely feeling or that unsatisfied feeling, that dissatisfaction, feel more satisfying. You might say to yourself something like, well, for a while I wanted to stabilize, and so I sort of drew into myself, and that was a good decision for you to make when you were feeling a little unstable. But now you could say, I'm feeling so stable, I don't believe that instability could be mine under any conditions. And so now there's no reason to isolate myself from those who might be thinking differently than I'm thinking, because that's the name of this game. Diversity is the name of this game, and we all have something of benefit. Esther was telling someone the other day that she loves the feeling of winning when she's co-creating with someone, maybe a house builder, maybe the car salesman. It doesn't matter who it is, win. And Esther was acknowledging that while she likes to thrive, she likes them to thrive too. And if in engagement with someone, if they're not winning, then she doesn't win, because their winning is such an important part of her winning. Because when you're an uplifter, you want to always be doing that, and that's sort of what we're talking about, isn't it? So while it might have been prudent to withdraw your attention while you stabilized and showed yourself how easy it is for you to thrive, now you've got a different priority, in that now that lonely feeling is maybe pointing you toward the fact that you're wanting to help some others to thrive too. So what we're getting at is this vortex that we talk about, this vibrational reality that you've created. There's all kinds of people that you've put in there, people who you care about, who are in there. You care about them, and so you must find satisfying thoughts about them. And sometimes they don't behave in satisfying ways, which means you've got to find a way to be satisfied anyway. You can't rely on them to behave in satisfying ways. And that's what makes you sort of want to throw some people out of your experience altogether, because you care about them and they misbehave, and then you feel bad and you think you have no control. But you do. You have control. You can be satisfied about them even when they're misbehaving. You can be satisfied because they're still in the early stages. You can be satisfied because they're still in step one. You can be satisfied because they're filling their vortex with all kinds of wonderful things. You can be satisfied because you know how it works. You can be satisfied because you once were there a little bit. You can be satisfied because you found your way out of it. You can be satisfied because they can too. You can be satisfied because they're really not any of your business, except that you care about them. You see what we're getting at? You can bring yourself into satisfaction, and when you do, oh, it's so not lonely, because then you have access to everything. Sometimes people will come and they will learn about what we're teaching, and they'll get really good at applying it, and then they will say something like, but those people at work are so negative. And that's when we really like to begin having some fun with them, because if you need anybody to be different, Esther will say to people all the time, if it was just different, it would be perfect. The sales girl brought her something to try on, and Esther handed it back, and she said, how did you like it? And Esther said, if it was just different, it would have been perfect. There's room for improvement everywhere. That's what this universe is about, and it certainly is what you are about. More.
Can I have a follow-up?